Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. I'd like to open the meeting at 7:30. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I ask for roll call, a little house cleaning or keeping to do here. We normally have 9 people on this commission, and now we're down to 7 because Mr. Scott was appointed to city council, so he will no longer be on this thing. So we have a vacancy there. And this afternoon, what's his name? Fitzer.
Sam Fitzer.
Pardon?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I can't believe he lost his first name.
Sam.
Sam Fitzer, he sent an email out that he's resigning because he says, now we have 2 open seats up here, which leaves us with 7 people. And you all know we need 5 to run this thing, so we're getting tight until council fills the seats for us. Please, if you can't make it, I understand. If you have jobs and you can't make it, let us know in advance so we don't have to cancel another meeting like we did last one. I appreciate that. And Mr. Tangeri will do the roll call, I believe?
Yes. Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mr. Fitzer has resigned, so I guess we will not call his name. Mr. Kucera?
Here.
Mr. Nushai is absent. Ms. Redmond?
Here.
Mr. Solomon is absent. Mr. Tinlin?
Here.
And Mr. Hara.
Here.
Thank you.
Just to know, I did email you last
Yes,
meeting.
I saw
And
you.
Joe and Nick, so, okay.
Yes.
I did
She
before
followed the
meeting.
protocol.
I did, okay.
Let the record show.
Please.
And I think Mr. Nushai and Mr. Solomon verbally told us they were going to be gone for a while, but I didn't write the dates down, so I wasn't sure. But I believe they're excused, but just so we don't cancel. How about number 4 is approval of tonight's agenda? Does anyone have any changes they'd like to make in tonight's agenda? I'll just approve it as it stands then. And then we will be approving the regular meeting minutes from June 24th, 2025.
Motion to approve the minutes of June 24th, 2025. Is it 24th or 25th? 24th?
24.
Support.
Motion support. Is everybody good with it? Can I roll call on that, please?
Yes. Mr. Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Kucera.
Yes.
Ms. Redmond.
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin.
Yes.
And Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6 is public discussion. Is there anyone from the public wishing to opine on anything? Seeing none, I will then close public discussion. And we'll move on to number 7, which is consideration of the site plan amendment application for 1238 Anderson Court, which is General Oil. Mr. Tangeri will walk us through us, I assume.
Yes. Juggle the roll call down. Okay, I'm going to start this one with a disclaimer because there's been some internal discussion since this letter went out about interpretation of the ordinance vis-a-vis accessory structures. And this is in particular in relation to the rear setback for this accessory structure. So we have noted in here that it's within the 25-foot rear setback. However, when we all put our heads together looking at the accessory building standards, we noted that it doesn't actually specify. I think the intention of them was always to apply to residential accessory structures. But we noted that it does call out other districts in one provision, and the language is otherwise general. So we've had to kind of shift gears and change our interpretation that, that made its way into this letter, which is that the rear setback actually is going to be compliant with the accessory building rear setback in the ordinance. And I've made some notes about revisiting that language to clarify some things. But for tonight, I just want to note that our note about the rear setback needing a variance will not apply. It meets the accessory building setback, so therefore we are considering it to be compliant in terms of setbacks. I apologize that that conversation happened after the letter went out, but I think it's important to get it right, so I just wanted to make that clear right up front. So 1283 Anderson Court is a site that we've looked at a few times for smaller accessory structures that were over on the side. And this one is behind the building and it's larger than the other two. It's in that corner directly behind the building in the northwestern portion of the lot. It's a 1.3 acre site. It's at the cul-de-sac of Anderson Court, which Google seems to be calling Anderson Road, but it appears to be Anderson Court in all of our records. The site and surrounding sites to the northwest are zoned BRD2. The site does border 4 lots zoned R2, all of which have homes on them, and that's to the east. They've got this structure that they're adding to their site. This is the same style. Like I said, it's just larger. This one is 54 feet by 16 feet. The other two are more like the size of a couple parking spaces. And the proposed structure doesn't occupy any current parking spaces, which is a difference between this structure and the other two, which both went in the parking area and were both intended to park vehicles that were already being placed there. I already talked about the dimensional requirement discussion there. They did give us a height for the building, which is 16 feet. That came subsequent to their initial submission. I'll have them confirm that tonight, but they did tell us via email that the height was going to be 16 feet. They do have the required screening fence. As noted previously, this site doesn't have a green belt or buffer like it would if it were built today. They're not changing any lighting on the site. Access is remaining the same. It's all from Anderson. We do have design specifications in the BRD2 district, and it's written primarily to address primary structures, but you can consider whether the appearance of the building meets the compatibility goals of the BRD2 district. It matches the other two accessory structures that they've already placed on the site. There is a standard that an accessory building cannot occupy more than 25% of a required rear yard. And that standard is met. At the time, we needed to confirm a couple things when we wrote the letter, but since then, we have confirmed that the standard's been met.
If I may ask, is that with the other structures?
The other structures aren't in the required rear yard, so they wouldn't be calculated in with this one. A portion of this one is in the required rear yard. So that's why the calculation was done for this building. And then we had a question still about the distance between this structure and the principal building. And if it's less than 10 feet from the principal building, there is some fire department approval that has to be granted in order to place them that close. But we need them to confirm what the actual distance is between the new structure and the principal building. Do you have any questions? I know that was kind of a little bit of a lot to throw at you right up front.
Yeah, so what standard are you using for the accessory setbacks then?
We are using the ones in the accessory building standards, which is section 5.12.
5.12.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little confused about the explanation. I'm not saying it's you, it's probably me, but the explanation of, so you're saying that because it wasn't broken down, excuse me, per district, that it's not applying here? Or, because I think I know you said you took notes to address this, but it's really important to have proper setbacks from,
Yeah.
especially residential, the building itself. So those were not applying at all?
The accessory building standards are what applies, yeah. So the district
Oh.
setbacks are not applying to this building because of the way the ordinance is written. It's written
Oh.
so that the accessory building standards seem to apply to all accessory buildings. And I think the original intent of those standards was that they were supposed to apply primarily to residential buildings. There's some things I'd like to clarify in there, because when we were talking about it, we were like, but ultimately, the language is general.
Okay.
So that's what we have to go with, is those standards. So it's basically a 2 and 2 from the side and rear property line.
A 2-foot and a 2-foot?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, that still covers a 14-foot maximum height, right? So they would be needing a variance for a 16-foot?
The 14-foot maximum height, I'm sorry, I had to close my PDF program froze, and I had to close my ordinance. Is it 14 feet in?
Not for the BRD two.
Okay.
BRD two takes the districts.
Yeah, so in the BRD2 district, it has the maximum height limit of the principal building. The 14-foot standard applies only in the R1, R2, O1,
B1
B1,
and P1.
and P1.
Okay.
So yeah, so the 16-foot height is fine here. They could technically go up to 30.
30-foot for an accessory dwelling? Okay.
Right, that's part of what I was saying, is I think there are some things that we should probably clean
Yeah.
up in this section.
Well, and it's interesting for this one as opposed to the other ones, and maybe it's better asked to them, but the use of a fence around the accessory unit is not something that we've, like, I don't think anyway, kind of addressed or come in front of us? I mean, is there something
Right.
that we should consider about the fencing of it, or is that just something that
As long as their fence is compliant, which it is, then I don't know that there's too much to discuss. I mean, I guess we could talk to them about, their reasoning and things like that. But as long as their fence isn't 10 feet tall or
Yeah, did
something
it say,
like
I
that.
don't recall it saying a height of the fence at all. It said chain link, but maybe
Yeah, I believe
I
it's
drove through there this
between 4
afternoon to
and
look
6
at it,
feet.
and I talked to one of the owners in the parking lot. The chain link fence it looks like a standard height, it's probably I guess under 6 foot, but it's got that man-made plastic greenery interwoven in it, so you can't see through it, so it's opaque through it.
Okay.
And their yard is really well maintained. It's really nice and clean back, because they got plenty of room. And my major concern is if the fire department has looked at this, like you said, the distance between this addition and the building has to have a certain
Right.
width in there for
And
that.
I think essentially like I said, we'll let them speak to how far it is from the building. But if it is less than 10 feet, I think you could make a condition of approval that they either move it or get fire department approval for the distance.
Right, that's.
So it's already erected, all of it?
No,
Or
it's
just-
not there.
Oh, so the fence is existing?
The fence is
And
existing,
they're gonna put that,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm sorry, I wasn't clear about that. Yes, the fence
Yeah.
is there.
Okay,
Yeah, I put that as a stipulation on the approval, look,
that
Fire
fire marshal
department.
approval?
right. Above and beyond ours. That's the only thing you haven't questioned, everything else, all the setbacks are,
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fine with the accessory building standards, and we'll be looking at those standards soon, because there's just, I don't know, we were talking about it, and there just seems like there's a lot to clean up in there, so.
And I believe the other two were for vehicles, and I believe they said in this one it's going to be for company vehicles, correct?
I think larger trucks, I think.
Okay, and so no type of materials are being stored there except for?
No, it doesn't appear to be for materials. We can have them confirm that, and that can, of course, be part of your approval.
Okay. One of the photos that looked in it, I don't know if it was a AI photo of what it would look like, but it looked like there was some type of generator or something in the photo. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, there was a rendered photo in there that is kind of like, this is what it would look like.
Okay.
Any further questions for Joe? Any questions for the applicant?
Just the ones I,
Good. Are you
Joe
the
can
applicant?
answer.
One of you? Evening.
Hello again. I'm Keith Alberti, the owner of Gen Oil.
Okay.
We were here on the 8th. Sorry I missed you guys, but glad we're getting this done tonight. So thank you.
So it looks like the only real question we have is what's the width between this addition and your actual physical building?
It's within compliance. My understanding is that somebody from the fire department or a representative of the fire department came by possibly and looked back there, and his concern was to make sure that they could get a vehicle in there and turn around or whatnot, and I think that was a thumbs up.
Oh, I think they can get a vehicle and turn around, but it's the actual distance, I think, between what you're adding on, this
I think
big,
it's 15 feet.
to the building?
I believe it was 15 feet, yeah. But what's the requirement, 10?
I thought it was a lot less, well, it's not
Okay.
there, but I could see there was
It's
some
10
barrels.
for an accessory building from the primary building?
yes.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to make sure we're compliant then, yeah. I thought it was 15, so we should be good, but we'll make sure of that,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't want you to put it up and have to move it.
Right.
Any further questions?
I'm sure you heard my question. It's an AI generated or something photo rendering. But is it just company vehicles going to be
Yeah.
stored there? Okay.
Yeah. And the
Okay.
vehicles we have are pretty expensive. So, I mean, honestly, I bought this a couple years ago. I put a ton of money into this building, and my goal is to just make it nicer. I'm actually trying to make things nicer, back there it was really beat up, so it's come a long way so far. And this would really help a lot to just kind of shelter these vehicles that are very expensive. And if you can keep a little bit of weather off of them, great. And, if anything, it's going to offer some tasteful screening as well. You're not really going to see it from Anderson, but maybe you'd see it from Maple, maybe. And it's going to make it look a little bit nicer, I think. So and we're spending a lot of money on this. We're not doing it cheap. We do it the right way.
Any further questions, discussion?
Well, it's a little unclear to me. Which is taller, the structure or the canopy?
The primary building is taller. Yeah.
Okay.
We don't really need to go larger than 16 feet. We just wanted to make sure we could get these trucks in there. You won't even see it from Anderson Court, honestly. The building's going to block it.
Yeah, for sure.
You'd never see it.
Okay.
And I encourage you guys to come by if you want to at any time and look at the building. I mean, we've done a lot to it. I think it looks nice.
Oh, it looks great back there, I thought, And then 2 new sheds that you put up.
It's going to be my forever building. I brought my daughter tonight, too, because one day she'll be working there, so I'm trying to get her some experience.
Oh, very good. Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion at this point then.
Just one other thing. So, the oil business is not clear to me, but, are you, it's easy for us to approve it today on the understanding that it's vehicles, but could it be later that you're storing tanks there?
We're only putting vehicles under this thing. I mean, I would never do that. I can't imagine that fire marshal would want that either. Like,
Yeah, right. So, I mean, these are primarily just delivery vehicles, right?
Correct.
I forget what they call them, wagons or something like
you
that.
can call them a tank wagon, I guess, yeah.
Tank wagon, yeah.
Really, but at the end of the day, it's really like a lot of pickups and stuff like that, too.
Okay. Well, that's it for me.
Okay.
And I think the fence thing, you covered the fence thing. Was there any other questions on the fence? Because I think that looks nice too, right? Or
I think we're all
good with
good.
that?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thanks.
All right. I will make a motion to approve the site plan amendment application for 1238 Anderson Court, with the condition that the fire marshal approves the distance from the building and it meets the setback requirements.
Support.
Motion support. Is everybody happy with that? No additions to it? Can I have roll call on that, please?
Yes, Mr. Kucera,
Yes.
Ms. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Hara.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Very good. And welcome to Clausen again. And we'll move on to agenda number 8 is consideration of the short-term rental zoning ordinance amendment.
Okay, so as you are all aware, there was a joint meeting between the Planning Commission and the City Council to hash out some of the details of this extremely long-running conversation about short-term rentals. And it was conveyed to me what the final agreement was, and now we get to see if you agree with what was conveyed to me. So what I've done is I have updated the amending ordinance for short-term rentals for your review, and if you are okay with it, then what we will do is we will set a public hearing and get it back on council's agenda. In the short-term rental ordinance itself, you will see an underlined sentence on page 2. And that is item C, maximum number of licenses. Right now, there's not a maximum number of licenses in that ordinance. Because licenses are issued via this ordinance, the maximum number of licenses has to also be established within this ordinance. So that's why that addition is there. Over in the zoning ordinance is where the rest of the action is. And there are a couple of additional districts named now from what we originally had. Let's see, I think that was the primary change. We still have all our notice of applicable ordinances and accommodation of parking on site. We still have our carve-outs for when you sell your house and you gotta rent it from your purchaser, that kind of stuff. But the addition of some districts was the other note that I got from that meeting that needed to be implemented in this zoning amendment. So hopefully that matches all of your notes and memories, and if it doesn't, then let's talk about it.
I'm satisfied with it as it stands. I'm happy we're going to keep it down to at least the maximum number of short-term rental licenses issued at any one time shall be 18. Because at present, we already have, 11 or 12 existing, I believe. So we're not going to get too far out of control with this.
Right. In the ordinance that goes to council is just FYI for us. Like, we don't have, is that gonna be part of the public hearing, or is that, you said underline item C, that's not part of our purview, but you were saying that you're including that because it was discussed and it'll be suggested to council. So we're only doing a
Precisely.
public hearing for our zoning one?
That's correct.
Okay.
And yes, I did include that just so that you could see it, and I wanted to make sure that even though we're not technically holding a public hearing on that, that the wording matched what you came away from that meeting with.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And just a correction on the page 4 of the actual ordinance, August is still listed as the city clerk.
August. Okay, wow. We have been
Goes that
talking
far
about this for a while.
Just saying.
Yeah,
3 years.
on my document, Michelle's in there, but, yeah, on the other one, it does say August, doesn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
there's numerous things going back to 2022 in there.
Yeah, oh yeah, the whole end. This ultimately will be the attorney's responsibility to
Okay, to clean
update,
up.
but I will flag those things for him so that they don't get missed. Because honestly, I didn't actually look at that part of it. I was just putting in my language that I knew needed to go in there.
The grandfathering portion for the residential area is not something that needs to be written into an ordinance, is that correct? Is that something that just is part of state law and there's an automatic grandfathering? And then once it's sold, that it automatically kind of switches into a compliant residential home?
Right, our non-conforming use standards, which are compliant with state law,
Okay.
cover that, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
So there's numerous things that I am very happy with the zoning ordinance. So I think that's from our purview perspective is great. There are a few things I would have maybe done differently with the actual city ordinance, but they're minor things. I was hoping the city attorney might have been here to discuss that, but in terms of like fast tracking this as much as possible, Joe, if I understand you correctly, we'll schedule a public hearing for the zoning ordinance, and then the city council will separately have to schedule a public hearing for their ordinance. Is there any way to combine that into one meeting?
Unfortunately, it has to happen in two stages. You have to have a hearing and make a recommendation to them, and then they have to pick it up and do two readings. So it's a 3-meeting process, and unfortunately, that's a ordinance and charter thing. So,
That's after our public hearings.
yeah, their 2 readings are after your public hearing.
are you saying to amend city council's ordinance?
No,
Oh, because
no.
they'll have to have a public hearing as well for their own ordinance amendment,
That's
correct?
correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Right. So I
Yeah.
was trying to see if there was any way we could do two at the same time,
Like host their public hearing for them?
at the same time we were doing ours.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, we don't really have a procedural way to do that. What we do have is an extra week tacked on to the end of July, so this actually can be set for a hearing on August 12th. It's pretty unusual for us to be able to actually set a hearing for our very next meeting, but we can do it this time. And
We could also schedule a special meeting.
yeah, we don't actually have time to notice for a special meeting, so our next regular meeting is perfectly timed for the notice. Because if we get the notice in the
Has to be
paper by
advance
next
time
Monday,
Given for public hearing.
we have until next Monday to get a notice in the paper.
Yes. So if we approve what we see tonight, and then we approve that we'll have a public meeting on August 12th, at that meeting, we can all agree, after talking to public, and send it on to mayor and council, and it's in their court then.
Exactly, and then they'll put it on their next 2 agendas, most likely.
They'll read it, put it on the public, and we'll get there.
I follow you, but what is the minimum time requirement for a public hearing?
15 days notice.
So-
So next Monday is the deadline for the August 12th meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Everybody happy?
Okay, I move to schedule a public hearing on the zoning ordinance amendment to govern short-term rentals for August 12th, planning commission meeting.
Support?
Motion support. Roll call, please.
Okay, I have to remember who I left off with last time. Ms. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Hara,
Yes.
and Mr. Crisera.
Yes.
All right, we've got a hearing set for 8:12. I will get the notice to the clerk tomorrow, and we will get that
We're getting there.
moving along.
The longest games we've been playing here. Okay, let's move on to number 9 is consideration of the ground floor parking zoning ordinance amendment,
Yes, I've got
which
to
is
open that
Mr.
one.
Riker's dream, correct?
Hold on a minute. My PDF reader is being extremely temperamental tonight for some reason, so I'm having to restart it and force quit it over and over again.
Joe, do you want my hard copy? I have a hard copy and the computer up, if you want it.
We have got my computer up too, if you want.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would be helpful. Let's just, all right, cool, thank you. So the main question that we left open last time was about the open space that we were looking for. And so I've given you kind of some reference material, I guess, to have that discussion here. So we had item A in the draft text, which is a development using the ground floor parking option shall provide a shared open space on the site for the use of residents. The shared open space shall include at a minimum a lawn area, seating, and one canopy tree. And that's, of course, pretty open in terms of how much open space we wind up with. So I wanted to look at a couple different ways to actually put a standard to the amount of open space that you would require. So basically, you would add a sentence at the end of that item that says the minimum area of the open space shall be, and then we have to figure out how to fill in the blank after shall be. So for perspective on page 2 here, I drew out a lot, and this is all to scale, and I put a box on there that shows what 10%, 15%, and 20% of the lot is. 20% is probably not a realistic thing to do. 15% probably also is not a realistic thing to do. But you can just see what it looks like, how much of the lot you'd be talking about. A percentage, of course, would scale with the size of the property. Setting the percentage too high would kill the ability to do it. On a quarter-acre lot, which is 10,890 square feet and not a really uncommon lot size in Clawson, you would get 1,089 square feet at 10% of open space. Now, for reference, 516 North Main has that little shared space behind the building. That's about 1,600 square feet. I'm not including the sidewalk in that 1,600 square feet. I'm just talking about the grass, the sitting area, the tree, all that stuff. That the lawn with the path through it is 1,600 square feet. That site, I did the math on that site too. That site is 23,000 square feet. So if you were to put a percentage to what that open space is, it is about 6.9%. So I guess if you're kind of trying to conceptualize this, you can look at that lot and say, okay, well, that's 6.9%. Is that enough? Would we like a little bit more? And that's one reference point you can at least keep in mind when you're trying to think through what this actually looks like in practice. Another approach would be to peg the size of the open space to a multiplier of the size of a parking space, which is 180 square feet. So 9 by 20 is the size of a parking space. A minimum of 2 parking spaces worth of open space would be 360 square feet, for example. So you could maybe tie that to the overall number of parking spaces provided or the number provided within the building. If you had if the ordinance required 180 square feet of open space for every 2 spaces placed in the building, a site with 10 spaces in the building would have 900 square feet of open space. And that would be a 25 by 36 area. The pedestrian alley on the south side of 14 Mile in downtown, you know, between Sabbath and that other building that doesn't have anything in it right now, that's about 11,000 square feet when measured from the bench to the bollards. I'm just trying to give you some spaces that you might be familiar with so you can get a sense of what the size of a space is when we say the square footage, because it's such an abstract thing. Like, it's really hard to conceptualize what 1,500 square feet of land looks like.
So Joe, that's helpful. You're saying for that alley space, if it was a green space, that would give, the trade-off would be 10 parking spots, right? If we were using the multiplier as you had
Yep.
here, right? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of trying to give some examples. It doesn't necessarily have to be these numbers necessarily, but I'm just trying to help you kind of think about what that looks like and what it feels like.
Do you feel like one of those ways that you presented seems like a more enticing incentive to builders? Because to me, that multiplier kind of, you know, seems like it might be more of an incentive. I don't know, do you have other cities that have done this in their ordinances? Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
We'd be pioneering this. Yeah, the multiplier, I mean, the multiplier makes a certain amount of sense because it's related to the thing you're already talking about, right? You're putting parking spaces on the ground floor of the building, so some portion of what you're putting under the building should follow that on the lot as open space, basically. And so there's a correlation between the two of them. Whereas the percentage of the lot is just a percentage of the lot, and it's not necessarily related to the number of spaces that they've managed to bank away under the building. I mean, there's a nice simplicity to the percentage of the lot. Oh, 10% of the lot, okay, well, that's, you know, just chop the last digit off the number of the lot, and there you go, there's your amount. I think that's the best thing about the percentage. But again, I like that the kind of ratio standard is related to the number of spaces that they've actually put under the building.
Yeah, and do you feel, I like, excuse me, I like the ratio as well. I'm just not an abstract. So do you feel like there's still enough incentive in the numbers you gave us to, let's say, 516, you know, that would have given them how many spaces? You know, you said 10 spaces so it would have given them maybe 7 or something spaces instead under that building for the alleyway kind of multiplier.
Yeah, it's a little hard to think about with that site. I'm trying to think of maybe like 150 North Main, which had quite a few parking spaces. If some of those had gone under the building, it might have been like 18 spaces or something, and you would have been doing 180 times 9 in that case with the standard that I've given as an example here, which would have been 180 times 9. You would have gotten 1,600 square feet of shared open space on that site, which is about equivalent to what they have on 516 North Main. So is 180 square feet for every 2 spaces necessarily the correct number?
And Joe, since we're trying to incentivize the developers, have we ever asked them, since we're getting close now, what they would consider incentivizing?
I've tried to kind of run it by a couple people, and I think it's the same like abstract question problem. They were like, oh, I mean, yeah, I could see that, but I haven't gotten like a definitive, yes, I would definitely leap at that. But I do think that they like the idea of being able to use the footprint of the building, and they're willing to give something in return for it. That is definitely something that I've heard back from people when I've talked to them about it. They're like, yes, if you're gonna give me something for putting stuff under the building, then I'm gonna be able to give you something in return for that.
I
So
would
for
hope so.
180 square feet, sorry, you get 2 parking spots, you said, right?
180 square feet is one parking spot.
One's
yeah.
parking spot, okay, and a parking spot is approximately like 36 square feet or something, right?
A parking
So-
spot's, it's 9 by 20, so that comes
9.
out to 180 square feet.
A parking spot
Yeah,
is?
a single parking spot.
Okay,
yeah.
so and how much green space are they getting? It's equal?
Well, so the ratio that I've got here is you do 180 square feet for every 2 spaces you place in the building. So you're required to put aside shared open space in the equivalent of 1 parking space for every 2 that you put under the building.
Okay, so, okay.
And that gives you some flexibility on the lot, because if you do a 1-to-1 requirement, all of a sudden, you're really constraining how you can design the lot. But a 1-to-2 standard, I think, gives people a lot of flexibility about, okay, I can do this space, it's not a problem to get that in there. You can still put other parking spaces that aren't under the building on the lot too. I think it's important to make it realistic.
For sure, I just wonder if that's enough incentive, that's all. And 3 would probably, you probably already broke down that number to try to find your soft middle landing, but 3 would probably be too much, right? To where you're not even gonna be able to accommodate much green space, right?
Yeah, if you did it, if you had to provide 180 square feet of open space for every 3 spaces in the building, it would be not very much. You just wouldn't be getting a lot of green space out of
Yeah,
it.
so it does sound like that's the,
Yeah, because we want to just make sure that, I mean, you think about a parking space on its own. You can put like a whole outdoor dining terrace in a parking space. Cars take up a ton of space, like they really do. It's a lot of space. If you took your garage and you converted it to living space, you could do a home theater or something in there. I mean, it would be a nice one. They do take up a ton of space. So 180 square feet is really a decent amount of space. And if you double, triple, quadruple that based on however much they're putting on the ground floor, you're getting a decent amount of area that's gonna have some lawn that people can congregate in, that people can take their dog to when they need to. It gives you something that, we're not necessarily getting right now.
and this is only for city center and CMD, correct?
Yes, City
Okay.
Center and CMD is where this would
Sorry,
apply.
Nate, I didn't mean to cut you off, I just wanted to stay on that same thought pattern, otherwise
No,
I'd lose it.
I think it's good to understand that green space concept. For me, I honestly need to see this visually. Like, I think
Sure.
we need to do the work and take a lot like Burger King or PNC and just say, this is, as it is, what is being constrained, and this is, with the 2-to-1 ratio that you propose, and, do a simulation that assumes the developer tried to maximize density for their apartments, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day, I hear the word incentive. If I was to say what our problem is in downtown right now is we generally don't have as much parking as we would like. And when we talk about sites coming, whether it's PNC or whatever, we're worried that the parking situation is going to get like more taxed, not less taxed. So, I kind of welcome more parking, but I don't want to make the density problem like worse by incentivizing people to just pack more units in there that have more people, that have more cars, that we're trying to shoehorn into it in a different way. And this is 4 stories now. With the top 2, as I see you've proposed here, both having the offset, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So it's basically, I have to see it. I have to see it visually. But I think anything that gets us more parking is good, And it would be interesting to have the conversation, who gets to use the parking? Is it just the tenants, or if there's a restaurant in that first floor, do the restaurant people get to use it? I don't know.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, so what I would say is that if you've covered all your parking for your units above, any additional could be used by other users. But you've got to have enough set aside for your units above. That's
Yeah.
the main thing.
I mean, my only concern is, any developer that actually, seriously considers, implementing this under space is, they need the space, right? That's the only reason why they would do it, is they need the space. So if we start requiring a lot of green space, I mean, that kind of just takes away the whole point of it entirely. But in the other sense, like, what, in the event that, like, you have, the car is like halfway through, how would you handle that situation? Would you base it on a square footage underneath the building? Or, because you wouldn't base it on the actual parking spot
Where you have a
itself.
space partially under the
Right,
building is what you're
right.
talking about, like as a little cantilever.
Because I mean,
or
some of these
something.
situations, they need every,
Inch.
every inch they can take in order to make the project financially feasible, right? So,
Right.
there may be a situation where they only need 25% of the under coverage,
Sure.
So instead of pegging it to an actual parking spot, maybe it's the actual square footage of, well, I mean, look at it, and, the actual square footage being taken per parking spot. So if it's 50% of each parking spot. Yeah.
Is there a scenario that you've seen where I can,
I'm just thinking, developers are gonna develop how
I can just throw a.
to make it,
Yeah.
is to meet their needs, right? And some of them might, they might be in a situation where they only need, X percentage of the actual, ground floor, and not 50%, or not, whatever we allow, or maximum that we allow. In the same side, every square foot you take away from the actual building itself is a, potential loss in use as well. So it's kind of a fine balance on all aspects.
It is,
Yeah.
At face
exactly.
value,
So-
what I think I see happening here is, if this was to happen, the PNC project would have far more units, because the parking calculation wouldn't be stressed as much, and they would put more units in, particularly with an extra floor. So if anybody had a concern with the density of that project, like, this supercharges that concern in my mind. I'd like to see it, but this is sort of a roundabout way of doing that. We want to do the right thing, right? We want a good community. We want to make use of the lots as best we can. We want a high-quality standard of sites. But this is, I think, could backfire if we don't do it right. So I would encourage my fellow commissioners, be cautious, and let's do some simulations to see exactly how it works out.
Right.
well, I would agree. I guess that's why it's helpful to see it, like you said, because I also think that counter to that, we're also incentivizing a green space, which is something that I talk about it almost every time we do one of these. And that does offset some of that building footprint, right? So that footprint isn't extending. Now, percentage-wise, or like square foot for square foot, I don't know what that looks like, which, to your point, maybe some simulations would be helpful. I've never seen where people park only halfway under, but I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I was wondering if there was any,
Yeah.
just to trigger my memory to see what that might look like. But I do think it's nice to incentivize a green space. I love that part of it. I'm sure there's a fine balance, and sometimes, well, if they're getting, 25 spots, is that an overabundance of green space? Like, we could go too extreme one way or the other with parking or green space, right? So it is something I think is worth playing around with.
Yeah, I think the mechanism that we do today is we have our setbacks that just so happen to serve that way, so we have a little bit, but it's not a particularly deliberate. The end result is we don't have enough green space,
Right, well, and I did want to bring that up before we close out on this, and not to drastically change subject, but, You know, if somebody's adding up like the strip, you know, the planting strip between, you know, the sidewalk and the, property line, and they're adding all these little portions, and they're like, oh, here's that percentage, or here's that amount of square feet. So I do think it's important for us to look at those things too, like, you know, what are the setbacks, the green belts, and things like that, because that could get eaten up just within those things. So knowing what percentage of a lot those might take, and it all changes every time we've got unique
Right.
properties.
This, just for my clarification, this green space that we're referring to, this would be not an accumulation of all green space on the property.
That's
Or
right.
non-pervious, this is actually one dedicated, you know, size,
Yeah.
right? So they wouldn't be able to use,
So that'll be spelled out in
Yeah,
there?
the
Okay.
language says a shared open space on the site for the use of residents, and it shall include at a minimum a lawn area, seating, and one canopy tree. So
But
there's,
it doesn't
we've
say
said-
that it excludes the percentage for anything else yet.
No, but you've got to be able to show that it's actually usable space. So if it's entirely a hedge along the back property line, that's not going to be very useful to.
Okay, but if we're using, okay, but let's say we have a property and it's required to have a space the size of 516, but they go with the alleyway size instead and say, well, we'll make up for the difference in that green space by all these little hedges everywhere. That's not something that our ordinance, at this point at least, prohibits from happening, right? Like, they could still have a green space with a tree and a bench, but it doesn't mean that that space in itself meets the total, coverage requirement. So I feel like something stating that it must be a continuous coverage in total, and that is separate and different from, whatever else.
Just a different thought train, okay? If the intention, is what we want is to get green space, like maybe a dedicated ordinance package just to require that, just to drive that specifically. It's a sharp tool for that purpose. What is happening here is we're sort of providing a carrot to get something we want, or that is the carrot for us, then we give them this parking thing, and it's sort of a complicated, give and take in one package. It could be that we just change specifically ordinances to drive that green space requirement. And, I'll also apologize for changing the subject, but I'm hearing that we're trying to be like an age-in-place friendly community. So I don't know what that means, but I'm guessing there are some standards coming along to our attention in the future that would, be more wheelchair accessible or have more ground floor units or something like this. I don't know. Maybe it's an elevator scheme or something like that. So I wonder if that is a good time, to have some briefing on what those requirements are to comply with that initiative, and maybe they complement this conversation as well, because it seems like we're talking about using the first floor differently. Maybe.
I mean, I would agree with a lot of that. It's just, I think the overall idea here is to give some of these lots the ability to reach their full potential in development. And if you don't peg it off something or base the requirement off something, it's not going to incentivize actually, taking advantage of this opportunity. So, I mean, I think it needs to be based off something, some percentage or some type of, metrics. It's, not just a blanket requirement, because that might just, the cost might outweigh the benefit of even the development.
For Clausen, we're talking like, what, 4 properties, Joe?
It's ever changing though.
Maybe 5?
Yeah, it is. I mean, someone might see an opportunity where we don't. So, I mean, we don't necessarily know how many properties we're looking at.
Well, and I know most builders will come in here and say that this site was so complicated, and, that's just something builders say, and no offense to builders, it's not. But I get it, but I do think it's not personal, and I get it. There's a lot of complications and a lot of varying sites with their own unique things that I think that this really does help us incentivize, like you said, the parking, and then we also get the win of like, oh, finally, there's grass for their people to like,
Right.
walk on too. So I do like the ordinance, and I support talking about other things in the future and aging in place, of course, but I like the ordinance, I like the idea. Yeah.
Can we get a simulation?
Oh, yeah, we can try to show what that really looks like in practice on, and we can just kind of take some familiar lots that everybody's used to seeing and just say, here's what it looks like on this vacant lot, here's what it looks like on, the Burger King site, and it could be a site that's even got something on it, and we can just kind of show, well, if you move some of these in, you get this much open space, here's what that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could provide a set of examples that would be illustrative enough that people would kind of be able to see it in their heads.
I think we really need to see a visual that shows that height. Because like the 3 lots on East or West 14 Mile, like that took me by surprise. That looks so much taller than I envisioned. And I don't know if it would have changed my mind in the end. I actually think it looks nice, but it's bigger than I thought it was going to
It
be.
definitely is.
There's a lot of roof there. I think that's what really catches
it?
your eye.
Yeah, it's
That
like your
little
eyes
church
just
looks
being
so
thrown
small.
off until they're completed. I think so.
It's
Yeah.
They'll fit better.
a lot of mass, roof mass.
But yeah, Burger King would be a great test bed. And maybe a different one for BRD2 where the height limit would be different.
Wait, BRD
Oh, the
two.
CMD and the
Or sorry,
CC
CMD, thank you,
district, yeah.
CMD, yeah.
Yeah,
CMD.
yeah, I can work something up for that. I have to remind myself not to take my notes on this sheet, because it's not my sheet. Take notes on Andy's computer.
Okay, as far as I can tell, there's no companies lined up trying to get in here and put ground floor
Thanks, Andy.
parking in. So I don't think we're being pressurized on this thing, and it took us quite a long time on short-term rental. I'm not sure why the agenda says that you want to have a public hearing on ground floor parking August 26th already.
Nick was just noting that if we were going to set a hearing on it, that would be the meeting to aim for,
Okay.
because it's less urgent than STRs, but the August 12th agenda is full at this point. There's a
okay.
lot on it, so he didn't want to put another thing on August 12th if
Okay,
we
so
were to set a
we'll
hearing.
disregard the
Yeah,
public hearing on
yeah,
that.
there's no need to actually do
Yeah.
anything with that note.
So all you're doing is taking notes, and you'll come back to us with more comprehensive.
Correct.
Okay, is everybody happy?
Yep.
Okay, how about a planner's report?
One thing I did want to note is that the National American Planning Association Conference is actually going to be in Detroit next year, in, I want to say April. Does that sound right? I think it's April. So, unusual opportunity if anybody is interested in actually seeing what the National American Planning Association Conference is like. There's usually a ton of sessions on all kinds of different topics related to development and property law and all kinds of things like that. So, just something to keep in mind. It's pretty unusual for it to come to your city, so I just wanted to note that to everybody.
Are the tickets available right now?
I think registration doesn't open for a little while. They're doing calls for sessions right now. We're thinking of pitching a couple ourselves.
Oh, that'd be fun.
But, yeah, a unique opportunity, so just wanted you to all be aware of it.
I don't know if you could answer for us, seeing as Nick's not here. On our last agenda, on July 8th, we had Hamilton Animal Hospital was here, and site plan application for 860 Batter, a primary caregiver. I'm surprised that they're not on this agenda. Do you know anything about them? Are they dropping out? or-
So the veterinary hospital was not able to be put on this agenda because the hearing had to be renoticed. So we had to provide enough time to renotice, and that bumped them to August 12th.
Okay.
860 Batter was supposed to be providing additional information and did not get us any additional information, so that was also moved to the 12th.
So we're not holding anybody up, it's just a matter of timing.
It's a matter of timing, yes. But both of those are on the agenda for the next meeting.
For the 12th.
Yes, on the 12th of August, yep.
With that said, there were a few things that I noted, I don't know if you read my notes or
I
not.
did see your notes, yes.
But that maybe would be helpful for Batter for the next time they come?
It has been conveyed to them.
Oh, okay.
So we're hopeful that they're going to be providing some of that when they do provide additional information.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and I don't know that you're going to do any staff report and training opportunities.
Yeah, we'll wait until Nick is back.
They're all on listed here. I don't see anything that's questionable to me. We have no legal update tonight because we have no attorney. Maybe I'll ask the attorney to show up for the next time we have a public hearing. It might help us out. Before we adjourn. does
Yes,
anybody-
Nick can request his presence at your next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be good, I think. Any comments or questions or anything before we adjourn?
Well, I want to thank Nick for putting in this notice that Madison Heights is going to be conducting a master plan update. So it's nice for us to be aware of that cursorily. I don't know what that exactly is going to involve or the timing of it, or is there a draft, or I have no idea where they are. But I think I spoke about it last time when Royal Oak did their thing with neighborhood zoning. That had an impact on our neighborhood. So I think I applaud that disclosure and thank the administration for doing that.
No further comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support?
Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Hara,
Yes.
Mr. Kucera,
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin,
Yes.
Ms. Redmond.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.